Hello, today I have my former student Kelsey, and today we're going to be discussing how Kelsey was accepted to 5 university music programs and received multiple music scholarships in just after 1 year of starting private flute lessons. So, Kelsey, if you wouldn't mind, could you briefly introduce yourself and describe your musical experience before taking lessons?
Yeah, so I'm Kelsey. I'm currently a sophomore in college studying music education and flute performance at Miami University. Before starting lessons with Sam, I started lessons in my junior year of high school, so in like 2020 probably. And before that, my only musical experience was just elementary band and then like junior high and high school band and like marching band, pep band, just general music ensembles like that. And so I didn't really like get that deep into like the whole focused like college path of like studying music until my junior year, which is, as I found out, a lot later than a lot of other students started studying for their college auditions, because college auditions typically happen pretty early on before acceptances happen. So
Yeah, it's a process.
it is, yeah.
It's a grueling process, especially if you're auditioning to multiple schools. Um,
Yes.
so what made you decide to choose the flute to begin with?
So it's funny because I actually didn't really choose the flute to begin with. I wanted to be a percussionist.
Mhm.
And this is a story I love telling, and I think it's hilarious. And my past band director thinks it's hilarious too. But I wanted to be a percussionist, and I think we already had too many percussion students or something. And he was like, "No, Kelsey, I'm sorry. I think you should play like the flute or clarinet or something." And so like sixth grade Kelsey was of course very let down. But I was like, okay, you know what? I'll just try it. I'll play the flute. And I absolutely hated the flute at first. I'm not gonna lie. I hated it. When I was in elementary, I hated the flute. I wanted to switch to trombone after that, which is very drastic. But I wanted to switch to trombone. I did not enjoy the flute, but I kept with it. And I really grew to love the instrument after just a few years of playing it.
Look at you now. Look at you
I know,
now.
right?
Yeah, percussion, flute, trombone, three very different things.
But look which one I stuck with.
Made the right decision, clearly.
Agreed.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So when and why, I guess we kind of already touched on when, junior year of high school, right? Why did you ultimately decide to start taking lessons then?
So I decided to take lessons like, around like midway through my junior year of high school, because I was like, I'm not going to be prepared for all of these scary college auditions unless I actually put in more effort and time into my flute practicing. Because of course I was practicing like my ensemble pieces, like in my band class, like mostly just in class, a little bit outside of class. But after doing some research on like college auditions, I was like, this all looks really scary and I don't think I can do it by myself. So my high school band director, I believe, recommended Sam to me. Um, and they had some connections. And so after seeing her flyer up in my band room, my family and I decided we're gonna try it out, because ultimately like college auditions are a big scary process unless you have someone to help you with them and help you not just with like the musical part, but also just the actual application part of all of those applications.
Yeah, I think people who don't audition for college and like go to study music in college really don't know how much you have to do. It's not just an application.
Yeah, it's so much, because it's not just like the application to the university, like with a lot of other degree programs, you have to do a separate application and audition for the music program specifically. So even if you get accepted into the university, there's no guarantee that you'll be accepted into the music program that you want to be in, which was very overwhelming for me as a junior in high school. So I am very glad that I did start taking lessons when I did.
Right. Yeah, we had a lot of conversations about it.
Yes,
That's for
we
sure.
sure did.
It's good. It's all good. So obviously, other than just like getting into college, when you started taking lessons, what were some goals that you had?
Hmm, let's see. Well, the main thing that was kind of happening when I started taking lessons was probably just like OMEA, like solo and ensemble stuff, This was also like the period of time right before COVID kind of happened and everything got shut down. So I did participate in like the OMEA solo and ensemble competition, which Sam really helped me through with all of that music, because I did participate. I did do a solo and I participated in an ensemble that year. But almost right after that is when COVID and everything hit, and so my school was not able to attend like the OMEA like ensemble competition that year or anything, and everything was just all sorts of crazy. So navigating through COVID was another really hard thing that I definitely would not have been able to do without the help of Sam, because I mean, it was even hard to just have motivation to practice when I was just stuck inside all day, like not able to actually go to band. We were doing band on a Zoom screen, so it was so nice to just be able to take lessons with Sam, even though it was on Zoom, and just be able to like talk to her and be like, "Yeah, this sucks, but we're still playing the flute, and it's a fun time." So, yeah, I would say definitely like just getting through like the main like COVID outbreak period and like quarantine isolation and all of that was like one of the biggest things that taking lessons helped me with, like during like my growth as a musician, because that was a very hard time for a lot of musicians and a lot of like music programs.
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely was for myself too. I know the best part of my day was seeing my students on Zoom, even though it was on Zoom and not in person like normal. But we were still able to connect and get our work done and find some little shred of normalcy throughout that time. But yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because we sure did have a lot of conversations. We still have conversations like that now.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, that was definitely a time.
Yeah.
Um, Great. So what were when you, I guess as we like first started lessons or right before you started lessons, maybe like right after we started lessons, somewhere in the beginning, when we were starting to work through your college audition repertoire, what were some of the frustrations that you were having in trying to achieve your goals and all that?
I would say the biggest thing is that just as a junior in high school who had only ever really done like general like band ensembles, I wasn't used to playing that level of like solo repertoire like by myself for an actual audition. Because yeah, I had done like chair placement auditions and stuff with like the other like 8, 9 people in my flute section, but doing an actual like solo audition for a college music program was something that like I, as like a junior in high school, was certainly like not comfortable with yet. And I took a look at that music and I was like, oh my gosh, what is this lady putting in front of me right now? I was like, I'm never going to be able to play this. So yeah, I was incredibly frustrated at first because it felt like I was not at the level I needed to be at whatsoever in order to get through college auditions. It felt like everyone was way far ahead of me and that I would have to like change my major completely or do something completely different in my future. So I would say that just like my my own self-confidence with my level of playing is what really frustrated me in the beginning with all of that music and all of that audition prep for college.
Sure, and that's totally normal and totally valid, even for sometimes for students who had been taking lessons since sixth grade, still going through that process and doing playing through the requirements and things. It's a task.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
I do remember that first lesson where I put the Mozart and the Chaminade in front of you. It was a little bit of like deer in the headlights.
In the same day, it was like, oh, here's what you can play for your college audition. And I was like, what?
Right, because there's a specific list of music you have to choose from on a college audition, right? They say the standard repertoire. So those are two things from that. But we worked through it and you did great. So what were some of the things that you and I did to slowly work through that music to build that confidence so that you could go and audition?
I mean, I would say one of the main things is just working on my tone, because my tone is something that as a high school student who had a band director whose primary instrument was percussion, tone was something that like was now really drilled into my head as like a young flute player. So I definitely had progressed through like beginning band and like high school band without a really great concept of what my tone was supposed to sound like. So leading up to college auditions, like working so much on my tone and like my embouchure in general is like the main thing that was like really a challenge for me, because once your tone, like once your embouchure is set, it's really, really hard to change it. But slowly working through that, like, and how I can like use my tone to like develop my college audition pieces, like in the context of each piece and like what each individual part is supposed to sound like. That was like one of the main things that we worked on that I think really helped me in my college auditions.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, that's great. Other than your tone, and now that we haven't been doing lessons together for almost 2 years now, which is just crazy because you're old and
Yeah.
in. But since we first started back in your junior year, other than that, what are some other areas of your playing that have improved, and by how much, if you had to say?
I mean, definitely my technique, like especially with like Mozart and G, like that is a very, very technically challenging piece. It's very, very metronomic. And like the technique that I had before starting that piece versus after working on that piece with Sam, like are so different, because like by working on that piece and working on my technique with Sam, like my technique on the flute improved so, so much. Like the alignment with like my articulations and like what my fingers are actually doing, like everything just like snapped so much more into place. And now I can safely say that like my technical abilities on the flute are at such a higher level than they were like in my junior or like even senior year of high school.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm kind of going off our list a little bit, but this is good. So now that you're going into your second year, actually, today was your third day of your second year of college. What are some things that you're doing in college? Like, what ensembles are you participating in? How involved are you on campus? What all are you doing with your flute life up there?
Yeah, so we actually just had our ensemble auditions the other day, so nothing is like confirmed as far as like ensemble placements yet, but I believe I will be in the orchestra and wind ensemble. Like that's kind of what it's sounding like at the moment. So I'm in the orchestra and wind ensemble, and I have participated in those ensembles in the past couple of semesters, which I play flute and piccolo for both of those. And then I'm also a member of Miami's marching band, which I am a piccolo player for. I'm one of our 3 section leaders for a section of 29 flute and piccolo players, which is an amazing number. Kind of scary, but amazing, amazing for sure. Especially, getting out of COVID years, like watching those numbers grow again is awesome. So that's super awesome. And then I'm also a part of Miami Steel Band, which is not flute related, but super, super fun ensemble to be in. But yeah. So at Miami, we have our flute studio, which Sam was a part of course. And flute studio is just where all of the flute majors get together once a week and we perform for each other. And honestly, like flute studio, it was so stressful for me at first as like an incoming freshman. I was like, I have to perform in front of all of these like seniors and like juniors in college. What? But studio has helped me so much, like in terms of like performance anxiety and everything. And like I'm so much more confident as a performer now just because of flute studio and even being in all of those other ensembles. Like they've all really helped me grow as a flute player.
Yeah, I love that, and I've watched that too. I hope I like because you. How old were you when we started? 16? Not even maybe.
I think I was 16. No, I think I was 15 when we started.
You were
I don't
16.
I don't know.
You were young, right? And you're still young. It wasn't that long ago, but I have just loved watching you grow, not only as a flutist, but just as a human. Your confidence has skyrocketed in the past couple years, and it's been really awesome to see. So that's awesome. I was gonna ask how have any other areas of your life improved in the past few years? It feels like that's the biggest one. Would you say, yeah?
It definitely is. Like, and even in high school, like I was a 2-year drum major in high school, so even doing that is like what like started helping me grow my confidence. But taking flute lessons and putting myself out there and growing my presence in like the actual like musical world in college and like putting myself in all of these different ensembles and like pushing myself to like be the best musician and person I can be at all times, like especially after having wonderful role models and teachers like Sam and my flute professors here at Miami. Like all of those things combined have definitely helped my confidence levels like at all times, like in every area of my life. Like not only is it easier for me to perform as a musician, it's easier for me to just talk to people and get to know people. It's easier for me to be confident in my academic abilities and like my success in school just in general. So overall, like taking flute lessons with Sam and like continuing like to be like a dedicated musician in college has certainly helped like all areas of my life, not just the musical aspects.
Great. And that makes me really happy to hear because you're doing great and I'm very proud of you if I haven't made that clear. Great. Just last two questions. And the first one is, would you recommend others to join the Goes Flute Studio?
Absolutely. If I had to recommend like literally anyone, like I know a lot of flute players, but like if I had to recommend anyone to teach like a student, no matter like where you live, I would absolutely recommend the Ghost Flute Studio.
Thank you. Who do you think the studio is a good fit for?
I think, I mean, any level of student, like I said, like I started taking lessons with Sam when I was like when I was a junior in high school, but Sam also has adult students. She also has very, very young students. I remember like the first like Goes Flute Studio recital that I went to. I was a senior in high school at that point, and I was sitting there in the audience like watching all of her different levels of students go up and play, and like that's just the most amazing thing to see, like all sorts of different like levels and ages of students, like no matter where you're at in your musical journey, like there's absolutely like a place for you in the Goes Flute Studio.
Oh, thank you. That's very kind of you. I appreciate that so much.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, well, thank you again. As always, I'm very proud of you. Thanks for talking to me.
Of
I learned
course.
so much today, so this has been great. Thank you again.
Yeah, thank you.